I'm in Suffolk this week. I'm here actually to do some writing. But while I'm here, I'm taking the chance to visit some of the locations where we can find some fantastic Suffolk beasts. So today I'm at Blythburgh. Blythburgh, as I was saying, was home of the story of the Black Shuck, a large black dog that roamed around the countryside. It attacked the congregation in Blythburgh Church during one dark night, and then I think it went off to Bungay. Anyway, we're not sure if this story is true, but there are lots of fantastical beasts in Suffolk, and so I'm going to hopefully visit some of them. Hello, I'm going to whisper because there's other people in the church. So we're now in Blythburgh Church, and this is where the Black Shuck took out several members of the congregation. It's actually a beautiful church, really very lovely, very huge, grand church. And here are the burn marks on the door, which shows you, it's meant to show you the claw marks of the Black Shuck. Oh, look at them, mysterious, but probably caused by candles, not claws. Still, I like a good legend. This is where the dog rampaged up the central aisle. This is the famous ceiling at Blythburgh Church, which is pretty amazing, isn't it? Hello, this is another of our mythical fabulous beasts. This is, I believe it's pronounced a Sciapod, and it's a man. You can see with his foot is so large he uses it as a sunshade. And here we are in Dennington Church. He's amazing. It's so bizarre. It's sometimes I think with these churches, it's so bizarre that these things should be carved there. I mean, why? Why did someone think of carving that in a church? Is it a lesson? I don't know. We're back to the Sciapod because I found out that these three little things here are meant to be three little human heads. So he's obviously quite big because his head's a lot bigger. These are three little heads that he's going to eat for his dinner. And he was meant to come from Libya, the deserts of Libya. He is amazing, isn't he? Now we've got to look because there's meant to be other little strange creatures in the church, so we're going to go and have a look for them. The best. Look, she's a mermaid. Hello, darling. I don't know why I'm talking to her like an animal, but look at her long tresses and her beautiful tail. She's quite modest. She's hiding her boobalubas, which don't appear to be very large. She is gorgeous. This one's a doggy with one ear. He's rather splendid, isn't it? These were all carved in about 1400 to 1500, so they're obviously not just one person's work. But I love these things because they always have so much humour. That these are little, I think these are meant to be little angels flying up. Just beautiful. I mean, he's so well carved, isn't he? Look at his face. He looks a bit like the Black Shuck. I'm kind of always amazed in churches that they could kind of get away with this, really, because there's no symbols of saints or I don't know, religious imagery at all. It's all animals and beasts and people eating things. When I went into the church the other day at Blythburgh, the beautiful poppy heads, as they're called there, were all to do with virtues and sins to be avoided. But these are not that. These are just creatures and people's heads popping out of things, and people, mythical creatures that eat people. So it's all quite pagan, isn't it, really? It's one of the weirdest things. There's some very odd things in this church, it has to be said. This is a scaly creature. Look at him with his one eye. They would have had two originally, and a scaly tail. He's above the priest door. And then on here, I don't think we can see this correctly, but I'm being told that this is an image of a man having his testicles ripped out by a sharp-beaked bird. I mean, why? Why? I mean, I guess that is telling you what's going to happen to you in the afterlife if you don't behave yourself. But really, it was really quite gruesome, wasn't it, in those days? No wonder he's looking so shocked. So now we're going to come across our final mythical creature of the day. Here he is. Hello, friend. He is the wild man of Orford. You can't see there his webbed feet, but so he was written about in 1200 by someone called Ralph de Coggeshall. Coggeshall is a place in Essex, and he told of a story of a man that was fished from the sea at Orford, who was covered in hair, but underneath his hair he had scales and he had webbed feet. He didn't say that he had a big club, but he does in this one here. And he's on the font again. It's really quite odd, but I guess that churches were kind of the sort of newspapers of their day, really, where you could find out about local history. And so he was fished from the sea, and then, typical, this little nature sprite that came from the sea. I'm afraid the people in Orford were really terrible to him, and they captured him, and they stuck him in the castle, which we'll go up and see shortly, and tortured him, poor little wild man. And then they actually brought him into this church, and because he didn't show any knowledge of all the religious things and didn't bow his knee before the religious artefacts, I think they hung him upside down at that point and beat him some more. Poor man, he couldn't speak. And then eventually they took him. He's all round this font. We can visit other wild men. There he is. Hello, I'm sorry you were beaten. And then they took him and they threw him back into the sea, and they tried to keep him with some nets, but thankfully he swam under all the nets and eventually escaped. Hurrah! Hurrah! We're very pleased. So here we are at Orford Castle, and I'm reading this book, The Wild Man of Orford, which is rather fantastic. And in it we've got a picture of the castle. Beautiful engraving. Night falls and he is led inside. Clothed men, dressed stone, turned wood, right angles, leg irons, chains. Nocturnal moanings from the cowshed, like whale song bringing sleep. Sorry, but it's so very sad. Now mandrake, twisted and broken, emetic, narcotic, renders him insensible. Then they hang him upside down, and at the first blow he knows not what they do. At the second he feels pain. At the third real fear. The scales fall from his eyes. So these are men. So here we have the harbour at Orford, where our man was led down to, and the fishing fleet that helped gather him in the first place. But there is a good ending to this story. At the mouth of the river, fishermen have set 3 nets deep across the tide. The merman is in his element and going deeper. Silence the click of prawns. Ears popping, diving down, fathoming a way out past the first net, surfacing seal-like between the floats. Head out of water, blinking, whiskers dripping. Diving again, he pulls his way down the second net and up again, eyeing the fisherman. One last dive, and a final vow is drawn between him and the clothed people. I should tell you that The Wild Man of Orford is by Alan Drummond and James Dodds. Presumably can be bought at all good local bookshops, although I borrowed mine from a friend. So this is it, folks. This is where the Wild Man of Orford slipped into the sea and swam away from the wicked people of Orford town, who did not treat him well at all. But luckily he made his escape, and hopefully he's out there somewhere swimming still.